Okay, we are recording now.
Okay, thank you. We'll call the March 15th, 2024 meeting of the Home Education Advisory Council to order at 2:35 p.m. And we'll do attendance on a roll call vote. Just a reminder that each member participating electronically or otherwise shall be able to contemporaneously and throughout the meeting see and hear and be seen and heard by the other members of the public body attending the meeting and the members of the public in attendance at the meeting site. Members participating remotely are considered present for the whole meeting for determination of quorum and voting, and each member participating remotely shall identify the persons present in the location from which the member is participating. And all votes must be taken on a roll call vote. And members who are attending remotely must, I think I said that, state the reason why it's not reasonable for them to be present with us today. So I think I covered it all. So Heather Barker is absent. Althea Barton is absent today. Jill Grant?
Here.
Thank you. Michael Koski is currently not here, but we are anticipating him joining us at this meeting. Diane Nolan?
Here.
Rebecca
Here.
Goodman? Senator Ward is absent. Representative Kudab is absent, and Representative Katie Peternell. Okay, and I am also in attendance, April Galani. So with that, we will move on to item number 2, immediate business. We have the need for a volunteer to take notes and compose minutes because our awesome secretary is unable to be with us today. Anybody willing to take that on?
I think I drew the short straw.
I think you did.
I will take it on.
Okay, thank you, Diane. All right. Okay, moving right along to agenda item number 3, agenda review. I'm just curious, does anyone have anything to add to the agenda or take from, move? I have 2 things. On Roman numeral number 12. I'd like to add an item E, excuse me. Excuse me, for the 2024 AT Resource Expo. Sorry, I still have a frog in my throat. And then I'd like to move on Roman numeral number 11, number B, letter B, number 1. In that one, it actually reflects that HB 1610 is an executive session. That actually, it's actually ITL. So if we could move that to 6, and then what happens is we shift everything up. So, 2 becomes 1. Then we have actually 5 items instead of 6 items on there. Is that too confusing? Is that okay with everybody? That way it just puts it in the right kind of status. Any other requests to change the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to the minutes of the previous meeting, and I believe Diane has a requested revision.
On page 2, second paragraph begins with Miss Nolan. Received an inquiry from the mother of a high school student asking about the delete new,
Okay,
the state requirement to complete FAFSA. That should be satisfactory. Didn't want to cause confusion because it led people to believe that there was that the legislation being discussed right now was already enacted or something similar.
okay. So then that first, in paragraph 2, the first sentence should read, Ms. Nolan said she received an inquiry from a mother of a high school student asking about the state requirement to complete a free application for federal student aid FAFSA application, period, striking out in order to graduate.
Correct.
Okay. Any other suggestions, corrections? Okay, hearing none, would there be any motions to accept the January 19th, 2024 meetings as amended by Mrs. Nolan?
I motion that we accept the minutes.
Okay. Any seconds?
I said,
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none on a roll call vote. Jill? Hold on, she's holding up
in
the
the
hand.
volume.
So,
Shake your head, yes.
Tim's working to get it where we can hear you.
I apologize. Yes.
No problem. Okay, thank you. Okay, Diane,
Accept.
Rebecca,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So with that, the minutes are approved as amended. Thank you very much. The next item, item number 5 is public comments, and we allow 3 minutes per person for public comments. We do have someone here who would like to make a public comment. So Tim, would you kindly be our timekeeper today?
sure.
Okay. Awesome. Okay.
Raise like up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. As a fast practice, we ask that anyone giving public comment, I just want to read this correctly. I don't see it on here, but identify themselves if they're from an organization representing themselves and what town they're from.
Great.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So my name is Kirsten Williams. I'm representing myself. I do work as a school counselor in our public school system. I live in Meredith, New Hampshire. I'm a mom and I'm also a lifelong lover of learning. So that's why I'm here. Can I just jump into my public comment?
Sure,
Not
yeah,
identify myself?
yeah.
So why I'm here is I created a job proposal, which I submitted to Prenda Micro Schools and the Commissioner of Education. I followed up with a Zoom call with the Commissioner of Education. We talked about my proposal and he suggested I come speak with you guys for further feedback and guidance around kind of what I'm trying to do. So why I'm here is I'm really passionate about kids. I'm really passionate about learning. I became a mom 4 years ago, and it really opened my eyes to how innate learning is and how kids are just born curious and have a love for learning. And then working in the public school system, I'm like, where did they lose that love for learning? And it started to make me question if public school was what was best for my own child. So I started doing a lot of reading. I started touring private schools, and then I connected with a friend who was running a Prenda micro school at the time, which just kind of blew my mind and really excited and inspired me. So I decided that I thought this model, the homeschooling, the micro schools, is what I feel is best for most kids. I'm not saying one thing is best for all kids, and maybe what's best for my family. And then I was like, how do I, because I'm such a passionate person who really loves kids, and I'm really good at my job. Like I said, I'm a school counselor and I really care about mental health. But how do I spend my time and energy and passion in a place that I think is what's best for kids? So I put together this job proposal as a way to maybe propose helping people in homeschool settings access mental health, as well as like, helping assess our children's mental health. As well as maybe supporting parents and guides and students who aren't a public part of the public education, whether that's with parent meetings or with mandated reporting, you know, all those kinds of things, as well as, like teaching things on optimistic thinking or how to regulate our emotions, those kinds of things. So I don't know if I'm allowed to give you guys things. I would love to give you
Sure.
a copy of that. So I have, my resume, which just kind of states my objectives. And then I also have my job proposal. And again, what I'm looking for is like feedback, like, this is new for me. I didn't even know that there was this like, I knew there was homeschooling, but I didn't realize the network, and the work that you guys have been doing, which I'm very inspired by. So I'm not like on top of it as far, oh, is it time?
Sorry, time's up.
Okay,
Yes.
that's
sorry.
okay. I'll give these to you.
Okay, thank you. Do you
Yeah.
have an extra copy as well, so we can make sure that,
Yeah.
okay, because we're expecting someone else. Thank you very much for being here and sharing
Yeah.
this opportunity with us. Yes. Okay, we'll move along because we have a lot on our agenda today. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is Roman numeral number 4. I probably should check. Was there anyone else who wanted to make public comment? No. Okay. All right. Thanks. So now moving on to number 4, appointment resignation, letter A. August 31st, 2024, term expiration. So Heather Barker, Althea Barton, April Villani, and Rebecca Woodman. Our terms expire at the end of August. So it's just a good time to remind everyone that if you're interested in continuing serving, please let those who nominated you know, so that you can seek reappointment with the commissioner. So it's just a friendly reminder on that. If you're not interested in continuing to serve, please, if you know someone, like, you know how important it is that we're here to continue our work, like, please, let it be known if you have any recommendations. The next item is just kind of that reminder, item B, recruitment for vacancies. We are still looking for 3 home educators to join the council. We're nearing the end of the year, and thankfully we've been able to carry on, but it'd be great to have more voices with us. So with that, we'll move along. Any questions or comments about either of those? Okay, moving right along to Roman numeral number 7, new business. Item number A, the annual report to State Board of Education. That needs to be prepared so that we have it over the summer to present to the State Board of Education. We're actually required to do that by the ED 315 rules. So typically what happens is, I don't have any experience doing this myself, but I've heard that we can take the meeting minutes, and that's very helpful in composing the report. We really need to have it here available for all of us to look at and approve, because it needs to be approved by the May 17th meeting. So I don't know if anyone is interested in helping to work on that. If so, I guess you're welcome to do that. And if you don't know now, just reach out and let me know.
Okay.
Yeah. And then it'll be brought forth at our next meeting, so we can go through it together and approve, disapprove, make any changes needed. So that's coming. New business number B is the Prenda Learning Pods. And Rebecca, I'll let you take that away.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes, I brought this up because I do have concerns. Maybe not presently, but down the road. I actually had some questions for Tim, that perhaps he can answer for me. In looking at the climate that we have in Concord, I've listened to probably 85% of all the educational hearings along with the exec sessions, which tells me that the climate isn't steered toward offering different pathways to children. It seems to be that there are quite a number that are in opposition to the various pathways to education. And some of the bills that I have heard come forward are concerning to me, even in the EFA program. And I did what I could do for research, and I did speak to one Prenda guide. I've tried to reach out to others, but have not got any information from them. Some of the things that concern me is that they have a lot of, what would I say, directives that come along with being part of Prenda. According to the information, actually, one of the papers that you had sent out us from the Department of Education indicates that they are required to take the state assessment test. Now, I don't, as you know, as being part of 193A, we have options. Prenda does not. They're required to take the state assessment tests. They're aligned with state standards, which homeschool 193A are not aligned with state standards. They do quarterly assessments using iReady, which is the same program that public schools use. So they are assessed quarterly, which we do not have anything like that in 193A. It appears, if you look at Prenda World, that they do have attendance requirements as far as keeping attendance with their program. Progress is tracked by Prenda. They have access to the academic reports because the iReady is actually done electronically online. And Prenda can log into those academic reports and actually give guidance to the guide as to what to do if the student is not making the progress that they should be making, which is obviously something that 193A does not do. We do not have anyone overseeing what we're doing on a regular basis. They have meetings with parents and students. It's called a partnership rather than individual parents being the sole directive of their students' education. They are not required to keep portfolios, which under 193A, we are required to keep portfolios. According to 193A, the parent keeps all testing records. I'm not sure where the testing records from Prenda go. As far as the state assessment, I'm sure the parents are not the only ones that have the testing records, because it is a state requirement to have the statewide assessment. So I'm not sure where those test results actually go. I'm sure it's not just the parents who have them. Whether Prenda has them or whether the State Department has them, I'm not sure. So those are my concerns, because I see that because they do fall under currently 193A, none of which I have just spoken of, falls under 193A. And my concern is down the road. Down the road, are we going to see, well, there is this Prenda, which falls under 193A. They have to take the assessment test. Shouldn't everybody else under 193 take the assessment test? Shouldn't they be required to follow state standards? Shouldn't they be required to send in, have a partnership with someone? Shouldn't they be overseen by a supervisor, school teacher? So I see this as something that could be used down the road to erode our rights and our freedoms that we have under 193A. That's my concern. Now, I'm not sure what Prenda is going to look like, because the funding came through the COVID relief fund, and it ends summer. I'm not sure down the road what for next year this looks like, whether it will be part of the EFA program, or if it will be self-pay. Self-pay, again, I think would fall, as far as I know, would fall under 193A.
Right, and that's, so I don't run the Prenda programs, I'm not very familiar with them. I did work on them my first go around here when it was with Bureau of Federal Compliance. And because it was federally funded, federal grants are required to have, participants are required to have an outcome, performance measures. And that's where the requirement, I believe, for the assessment came from.
Right.
Because if you're taking federal funds, you have to show this some kind
Hey,
of.
Tim, I can't hear you.
Oh, okay, sorry, how about now?
Is that better, Jen?
Is that better, Joe?
Not sure yet.
Announce it. I'm further from the owl, I guess, so I'll just
Move it
speak up,
closer.
I guess.
I can
Yeah.
hear everybody else really well. You're just like, it sounds like you're talking through like a, I don't know.
How about now?
That's better.
I'll try to enunciate better. So because Prenda was funded using COVID federal dollars, the federal grants require outcomes and measurements, and that's where the requirement for an assessment came from, I believe. I remember working with the commission on that. The funding does end September 30th of 24, I believe, for that program. And so I don't know what again, I haven't been engaged with Prenda pods or the Kaya pods either. So I don't know if an assessment requirement will continue. And it may just become, what does Prenda require? Similar to what does Acton Academy require for their homeschooling? You know, if you're gonna select it as a choice as a homeschooling parent.
Right.
Does Acton Academy, I know there's a third one going in. Do they have specific requirements if you're going to elect to become part of their program? I don't know if Prenda will just become that. And it may have things that
Right.
aren't included in 193A.
Right.
But that would be up to the parent, I guess, to make that decision. So I guess I
Right.
can't answer your question about the future of Prenda,
Right,
because I don't know if a lot of that might go away when the federal funding goes away.
right, right. Well, that is my concern, because I would hate to see that we lose some of the rights and freedoms we have because of programs that have all of these restrictions or regulations that are part of PennDOT
Mhm.
fall under 193A. I would hate to see 193A lose the rights and freedoms that we have.
Mhm.
That's my concern.
I think it's also important, some of the things you brought up, you know, parents may not be aware of some of these things if they haven't done a deep dive. So I think it's important to know that these are additional criteria that's required, that's over and above 193A that may raise a red flag to some families.
Right.
So I think thank you for bringing that.
Right.
Here now.
From what I looked at the different pods that are out there, the community pods. It appeared that some of them might actually be getting EFA funds, which would put them into a whole different pathway,
Correct, yeah,
which I'm wondering if
that would be an
the
EFA
future
pathway,
down the
yeah.
road, if that may be what happens.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's really gonna depend if the funding changes what Prenda requires for assessments and so forth and reporting. If that goes away because the federal funding goes away, then it's like any other program.
Right. Right.
So there's a multitude of programs available to home educating families, you know, in New Hampshire, online. We don't, our office does not look at those because that's not our role. So Prenda may just become one of those.
Right.
And it's not a state issue if it's not getting state
Right.
funding, or at least not a home education issue. It
Right.
may become an EFA issue under those regulations.
Right. Well, I think
So
most,
is Prenda operate as a vendor, or are people being reimbursed for that service? So they can use their EFA funds. So the parents still have to submit their record of educational attainment to continue to receive the EFA funds, right?
Yeah, that's my understanding of the EFA. There is a specific assessment requirement of the EFA. It's not an optional.
well, they do have the option of doing.
Oh, do they have a
Yes,
portfolio
they
as
do
well?
have the option of doing an achievement test.
Yeah.
They're not required to take the state assessment test.
Oh, they don't, okay.
No.
This is why I need Brian Bulk here.
Yeah.
from
They
EFA.
can, they can choose from the
They can
same
choose.
testing options
I'm gonna
that
step away
are
just to let Mike in.
available
Oh,
under
okay.
193A.
Yes, they can choose, and I guess that's part of my issue with, they don't have the choice to choose on Brenda.
Right. Yeah.
But they still fall under 193A.
Or EFA if they're. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, I think the assessment, as I recall, is because it's a federal funded
Right.
program.
Right.
Again, if that goes away, maybe a number of the concerns
Right.
go away.
Do we have any idea where the results of that assessment test from goes to?
No, I have, no.
Just want to make a note, for Diane, who will be taking the minutes, that at 3 o'clock, Mike Kosky joined us. Thank you, Mike.
Yes,
Mike.
sorry, I'm late.
Tim, I have a question, and I'm not sure if this is a good time to ask it, but just hearing about the federal funding that goes to the Prenda Learning Pods. Is that federal funding also part of the same funding that funds the Kindling Curiosity Grant for students?
I believe it's COVID related, yes.
So I realize you may or may not, do you have any knowledge of, for those students who accept the Rekindling Curiosity grants, if there may be similar kind of outcome markers that parents,
I'm not aware, yeah, I don't,
okay,
I've been engaged in that in probably 3 years now. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So, all right,
People, can I ask you to repeat the Rekindling Curiosity grants?
yes, they're a grant offered for summer camps through approved vendors in the state,
And they're federally funded.
Yes,
yes.
COVID related funding. But I can ask our division of learner support who runs those programs.
Okay,
If you ask, what are the outcomes?
yes, that would be interesting to
That
know,
would be, yeah.
yeah. I'm also curious with the federal funding ending, what we'll see, and
Right, that was my,
yeah, some of what I'm hearing is that since the funding will be available through the end of September 2024, that some families are going to be requesting to use that funding to pay the tuition for the whole year of 24-25. And so I don't know if that's possible. This is just things I'm hearing out there. And so we may still see, families in 24-25 through the whole school year using that if that's possible.
I did read something that said it was supposed to be up this summer, but that may have been an error.
Yeah, I believe what's called the period of performance is ending, the federal grants end September 30th. That's their fiscal year
Okay.
end. But it will depend on if they could, I'm not sure if they can use it moving forward. That's really dependent on the program.
I mean, that would make
Yeah.
sense. Several schools, I mean, Bill, they want that right up front, so.
I know there has been no request for community Prenda pod according to Prenda online yet this year, for next year.
Okay. Any other questions, comments about printed pods or microscope pods in general? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to Roman numeral 7, item C, student internships. This is on here based on an inquiry that I received from a parent and just some general discussions. This was the question that I received. New Hampshire child labor laws restrict all students, including homeschoolers, from regularly working during public school hours. But if a student had a paid apprenticeship where they were learning, can this occur during school hours legally? So, so that was a question, because we know that home educated families do not keep always, their hours don't mirror that of public schools. And I thought that was a very interesting question, and it seems like a very complicated issue, right? Because Department of Labor is involved. Department of Education is involved in that, not at all, that's all Department of Labor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Luckily, through our career tech, they have to become involved with Department of Labor. So I reached out to them, and that's the woman who sent all that great information back. It was just based on her work for her programs and having to deal with the Department of Labor. So there are no rules, but around this from the Department of Education.
Okay,
It's all Department of Labor.
would it be in, do you think that we could approach the Department of Labor to ask them to maybe provide us with some sort of workshop or learning opportunity about that? Because we're getting closer to, you know, we're hearing that there's a lack of people coming to work
Mhm.
out in the community.
Yeah.
And there's certainly a need in the trades.
Mhm.
And there's this whole push for school to work. And how do we make that hand to hand where it's not, especially where it's not too cumbersome for home educated families?
Yeah, I think so that I was provided Lexi, I forgot her last name, with the Department of Labor as a contact I was provided. And
Okay,
again, they are really, I think my office sent something out about, school work opportunities. And they're
Right.
trying to get more education involvement, so I think she would be responsive to having a conversation about maybe doing some workshops for the home education associations.
okay,
So I can reach out to her and loop you in once I find out
thank you.
what she.
Or, yeah,
Yeah.
or just finding out also if they'd be willing to come to a future meeting with the presentation, but the more knowledge we get out there.
Be great.
Yes, it does seem very complicated and,
It does.
we just got a Learn Everywhere program approved yesterday. That's equine therapeutic.
Oh, awesome.
That, but when I was talking to my, colleague from CTE, she's like, oh, you might want to talk to DOL about that. Why, the parents are sending, but schools don't have to be involved to trigger an employee-employer relationship, and so it does seem very complicated to me.
Yes.
As well, and so I think it would be worthwhile to have them maybe understand. The feedback I got from the CPE person was, they don't necessarily understand like all of what my program is, because it's quite different. And home education is different, and so I think they would appreciate having the opportunity to understand those different opportunities and how their rules might or might not apply. So that I can make that contact and
Thank
bring
you.
that back to them.
I appreciate that.
I would be very interested in being part of those meetings also, because if we have legislation that is necessary relating to that, I would be happy to help with that in the future, because it sounds like it can get really messy and we need more.
Yes.
To make it,
Yes.
Well, for example,
Clear as
decoupling
mud.
the home education having to match school hours,
Mm-hmm.
right? That could be a legislative change or rule, if necessary, or rule change, right?
Right.
That might simply help fix things.
Okay. Yeah, so that's something I guess we can, everybody agrees to kind of keep on our radar.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. Any other questions, concerns? Okay, if not, moving on, Roman numeral A, continuing business, letter A, best practices review. This has been on there for a while. I know we've been waiting on feedback from Attorney Brown. And she's been waiting on the memo to be released from the Attorney General, but that was just released yesterday.
go.
Right, so I'm not sure if you had a chance to connect. with
Yes, I did reach out to Attorney Brown, and I can imagine her response was, I just received it, give me a break.
Of course, I would imagine that, yes.
And she's hoping to get to it within a few weeks.
It's like a
It's
ridiculous amount of
179
pages.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't go through it, but I assume some of that is references to legal citations, I
Okay.
guess, but
so we can anticipate maybe getting more information next meeting.
yes. I hope
Awesome.
So, yeah, because as you know, I have two councils. I also have a non-public school advisory council, so it really will also affect them. So
Okay.
it's something that I need to get up to speed.
Please again, express our appreciation.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
To
Yeah.
Attorney Brown. And we're happy, right? We're happy that we're moving forward on that, so we can get closer to kind of finalizing this best practices. And with that, we move along to Roman numeral 9, Commissioners' Reports.
So I've been slowly cleaning up our webpage. The FAQ document has been started, but not a lot of progress on my part. No progress on the informational webinar yet. And just as background, I think a lot of you know that, so I manage 5 programs for the department, and I can say home education is by far the most time I spend every week is on home education issues, and I think like a lot of the associations fielding phone calls. and answering those bizarre questions that come up and, or when the district's not behaving properly. Helping resolve those issues, so, we are looking at we've been trying to fill a part-time position. I would share my 5 programs with, and we're in our 3rd cycle of advertising and interviews right now, so it's been going on for a few months. But hopefully, if you know anybody, that might be interested in a position working in non-public schools and home education, or anything, send them my way, and we can see if we can get them certified, so. So no excuses, just an explanation. I try to poke away every Friday is Home Ed Friday. Trying to update the website and keep that current and this, so. The HEAC memberships, those remain unchanged, other than the last one. So there is a person in the Keene area, Lindsay Patterson. And she, I think, recently moved from the Midwest to New Hampshire. And so I've been talking with her off and on about creating she was thinking about a non-public school, and then she just decided to do a home ed based school. And she had a lot of questions, concerns about a couple of the rules in the home ed law about teacher certification to do annual evaluations with one of her questions. And so I just happened to mention, we have this home education advisory council, which should be interested, and she said, absolutely. As our rules require, some people have to be nominated by a home education association. She's not a member of any association. She wouldn't have to be nominated by an association, but I wanted to bring it forward to see if anybody from the council would like to chat with her and see.
I know Lindsay.
You know Lindsay,
Oh,
oh yeah, she's in your
awesome.
area, yeah. And so, but our process, right, is she doesn't have to be a member of an association, the way the language in the law works, she just has to be nominated by an association, so. So you do know her, would you mind speaking about her if you're comfortable, or?
Sure. Well, I know her, just because, she has attended the church I attend, and she also, is opening up a school, here in the same area where, I run a school. And so I've just been in conversation with her. I've only had a couple of conversations with her, really. I'm happy to chat with her. What would you need from me to make that nomination or that recommendation?
It'd have to come from, for the 3 positions we have available, that it would have to come from a home education association, would have to nominate her, so. Catholics United or any of the associations within the within New Hampshire. Now, the term association isn't defined in our rule or law either. And so, there we have
So
some
I
large
couldn't nominate
associations.
her. So I couldn't nominate her?
No, because unless you're in a home education association of some sort.
Oh, no. Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's the rub.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah.
It sounds like she needs to
Yeah.
get connected with those home ed associations, or at least one
well,
in the state who would be
Right.
willing to nominate her.
Correct, and
Okay.
again, she doesn't have to be a member,
Right.
she just has to be nominated by that. So it was like with when we.
Do you
were
need me to
looking
do
at
anything?
Options for what's that?
Do you need me to do anything?
If you wanted to, you could explain to her maybe a little bit about the council and the work. I did a little bit, but it might mean more coming from somebody who's a member of the council rather than me. If you're
Sure.
comfortable doing that, that might be helpful.
And
Sure.
Jill, if you know any home education associations in your area, I mean, a personal referral might be great as well.
I don't. A
Yeah.
lot of the people who I know who homeschool aren't necessarily part of an association. So I would have to ask around.
So I just wanted to bring it.
I
to
know
the
a
council
lot of
attention.
people who homeschool. And we
Yeah.
have a number of kiddos who drop into our classes here at school who are homeschoolers. I can ask them if they are part of an association. So yeah, I'll ask around. I'll see what I can do on my end just to push along the process. Just maybe great to have her. But obviously she'll need to come in through the proper channels.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, it sounds like she just needs help making that connection
Right.
with
and-
an association.
Yeah, and she seems very experienced with home education, and she's a former teacher, and It's creating a school in the Keene area, and so.
Yep.
She seems enthusiastic. which
And
is
willing
always
to
helpful, and
serve.
willing,
Yeah,
exactly,
that's
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to bring it
Yeah,
forward.
yeah, exactly. She would definitely be willing to serve. She definitely has a lot of passion for education. So
Okay, great.
Awesome, thank you.
And so
Sure.
number 3, I did reach out to, again, updating our website, some of the materials dated. So I sent emails to all the, email contacts on our webpage and just with the word test, and I got responses back, and I didn't get it from the Christian home educators. I think you responded
I did.
about the Seacoast Christian home, which is a different, completely different location.
Yeah.
So we did remove
Oh,
the
I'm sorry, I
one.
didn't realize.
Yeah, we removed
Okay.
the one. I did remove
Yeah.
that information today from the one. Hudson or whoever it was, but,
Okay,
and I did ask Seacoast home educators if they'd like to be added, and I have not got a response back yet. So again, we're just trying to build that up if there are whatever we term associations.
right,
I'd like to, if they want, get their information on our webpage. So just trying to clean that up. Again,
Right.
some of that information was pretty dated. And
and,
so,
and I can imagine that's probably challenging because some organizations or groups may not want to pay the cost of a website.
Mhm.
Or, you know,
Sure,
so they're leaning on social media
right,
for their contacts, so how do you break through?
right.
Can you use the NHDOE.com Facebook to break through to message them? If-
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to,
Okay.
yeah, talk to Cam, but I'm just starting that process to reach out, and going through the commissioner is helpful as well. He knows a lot of the
Okay,
kind of the Facebook groups.
Okay.
You know, and because of his experience with home education.
right,
and,
right, okay,
Just trying to rely on that connection as well.
yeah, I'm just wondering how you make that connection if you don't have a Facebook page or
Right.
publicly available email.
And some of these groups don't want to be on our webpage.
Right.
Right, and I understand that as well. So I don't, I just make the offer. If they don't respond, I don't chase them, you know,
Okay.
so.
Would it be possible for you to share that list with us? That we could see if
Yeah.
when we know of a group that isn't on the list?
Oh, okay, yeah, it's on our webpage, so I can send you
Okay,
the link.
all right.
Yeah, it's under
I'll
resources
look
on
at
our
it.
webpage, yeah. And then item number 4, home education law and rule updates. And these are just things that I come across that I wanted to bring to the attention of the council when I'm doing, so for example, the first one, I get a lot of requests for completion certificates. And this is after, this is from 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds, that their parents never requested a completion certificate.
Okay,
The law reads that a parent, when their child is under the age of 18, can request a completion certificate. It doesn't say a adult home educated student can request a completion certificate. And we just had one where I helped get a couple Marines enlisted. But one of the questions was, after I explained to the Marines what a home education completion certificate is versus a diploma. They said, well, I think it was a 20-year-old, he's estranged from his parents. And well, the law doesn't allow me to give him one without the parent's signature. And so they ended up getting it. And we were able to get him enlisted. And as an aside, it was interesting, those were the first 2 Marines enlisted in New England in 16 months. I don't know, which I didn't realize, but they're having a very difficult time. All the branches are of enlisting folks, and so they were very happy with our assistance, but it brought up this issue of, you have adults that are trying to get a job, and I've had 40-year-olds asking me for these things because they're applying for a job, and that company wants their diploma or their transcript.
Yes.
And I'm like, I can get your completion certificate if you get your parent's signature. So I didn't know if we could look at the law and or rule to see if we could open that up and make it, is it acceptable for someone who, I know that the parent saying, yes, my child has received this education may be different than the child who maybe didn't receive an education saying I did and giving a completion certificate, but in reality, it's just a statement by the parent versus a statement by the adult child, the adult student. So it's just, it's happened, it seems to be happening more and more.
Okay.
And it's probably, 15 times in the last year. I've had these kind of requests for, again, for jobs, for getting into the military, for getting into the Massachusetts State Police. And these, again, adults that are estranged from their parents and, there's nothing in the law that says I can't give them one, even if it's 10 years afterwards. But I still need that parent signature to do that. So I didn't know if that would be something to consider as a rule change or law change. To help resolve that issue. One of the other things, that was just a small one, just we're trying to scrub our webpage from the term homeschool and use home education. Because home education is defined in 193A. And so I know there's a lot of confusion under EFA and homeschooling versus home education, but the program I run is home education. And I try to always use that term, and I did,
Thank you.
again, our website, we're trying to scrub homeschooling to maybe help reduce the confusion with the EFA program. That's the only thing I can do. So again, just trying to catch these in the rules of the law is what I find. So for consideration, if we want to look at rulemaking down the road, I would like to include those, and we may have other rulemaking or law changes we want to propose in the future. So I just wanted to bring that to the council's attention. And then, the last one, and I think I brought this up before. So the age of homeschooling is 6 to under 18, which matches the compulsory attendance law. I've been getting calls and emails from parents and school districts about kindergarten and preschool. And we don't deal with preschool at the department. We're K-12. But you have 5-year-olds going to kindergarten. And so if they request home education, say they send me a notification because they want to do part-time kindergarten through the equal access law, I say, you're not eligible for home education because you're not 6 yet. So those kiddos don't have the right to go to the school district and say, I want to partake in the curricular activities of kindergarten. Or if they're young for first grade, right? They could still be below 6 at the first couple months of first grade. And the district could say no, because you're not home educated yet, because you're not 6. And then on the top end, again, after they turn 18, they're out of home education. And so I was 18 in January of my senior year. So a district could refuse somebody, if they're 18, trying to access algebra in their spring semester. And so I believe that districts are obligated to educate students until they're 22 or they receive a diploma. So I didn't know if it would make sense to open up home education to those same age ranges to make people access available to those older students who haven't received a diploma and want to partake in the curricular activities.
I was digging into that one because from some of the veteran home educators, I've heard a lot about unintended consequences. Number one, we know that home educators can, based on current law, right? It's, because the compulsory attendance, they cannot be held to go above 18, right, to educate their kids. I wrote this down, so I'm just gonna read it. It says, the child should already have access to the higher end of the age range because RSA 193:1-C says, for purposes of allowing access as described in this section, a home educated pupil includes any pupil who is a child with a disability under RSA 186:C:2 until such time, Roman numeral 1, until such time as such pupil has acquired a high school diploma or reached age 21 inclusive, but shall not include any other pupil who has graduated from high school level program of home education or its equivalent or has obtained the age of 21. In other words, if the parent of a child under age 21 has not certified completion according to ED 315.15, that's the certificate of completion, that the child has completed a high school level program, the child should still have access to curricular and co-curricular activities for RSA 193:1-C. That's the access to public school programs by non-public, public charter school or home educated pupils. So it seems that if public schools are refusing access,
Hmm.
that they need to be educated about that law instead
So what
of
is the law you're reading?
RSA 193:1-C.
Okay,
Yeah. So, you know, if, again, we, as home educators, we can indeed continue to educate, but if there's no certificate of completion,
Mhm.
then the child is still engaged in their education.
Oh, I thought it was, so it's not that they have to have a disability.
No,
No,
No, okay. I don't, yeah, I'll have to read that.
okay,
Thank you.
yeah,
I think the disability for the IEP is for 22.
Yeah.
But the student could stay back. And,
Right.
Except it does create a bit of a problem for sports.
yes,
Saying if a 21-year-old competing.
Yes.
See where somebody might want to extend their high school sports career.
Sure.
that's exactly what I was thinking
Yeah.
of too when I read that, Mike.
So it might have said,
Well, and you could address that in law, right?
yes,
Yeah.
right, yeah, no, it can all
Yeah.
get worked out.
Yeah.
Rules there.
And again, I haven't heard of it on the upper side, upper age limit,
okay,
but I have been getting these questions around, kindergarten. And, do we have the right to kindergarten as a home educated student? I'm like, I don't believe so, because you're not 6 and you're not home educated yet,
right,
so could we lower that to, if a parent chooses to 5 or something like that, make it an option for a parent to do that. I don't know. It's just something that, again, I've been getting questions, so I'd like to bring these things to the council, but you guys have a lot more experience with the actual parents than I do, and so it's always helpful to get your info.
do you see the department working on the rules this summer?
No,
Okay,
no, unless there's a request to,
okay.
so,
The reason I ask is, I believe, that Attorney Brown, if my memory serves me correctly, one of her suggestions was to form, a rules committee to, so that a few people could, kind of go through those rules meticulously and then bring it to the whole council. And I didn't know if there would be value, what you guys thought about forming a rules committee, not necessarily for the purpose of promoting a rule change, but just in case, the education department was presenting something so that we have an opportunity to review it before it goes before, any approval processes. Similar to like last year, we did not meet until it needed to be presented.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what you guys think about forming a rules, a rule committee, or if anyone would be willing to serve.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay,
well, it might be able to address some of the concerns you brought up
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
And if you want to define home education to exclude certain things,
I think it's a.
you could do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
And there would
that-
be, so we have rules, but
Right.
certain things need to be in law first, right? So that's where Katie.
okay. We're missing several people this year. Would you guys like to see that on the agenda for our next meeting? Sure. Okay. So we'll put that on our next agenda. To discuss that further. I do have one more question. Does anybody else have a question about Tim's report? Okay, my other question is, I know that you've been striving to do the webinar, and I'm not sure if it's been asked, but would it be helpful to have a volunteer or volunteers from HEAC to, once that is complete, to go through it just as a second pair of eyes, based on our experience, to say,
Yes.
this is what we see?
Yeah, of course, and I know
Okay.
Heather offered to
Yes, she
assist
did.
with creating it, and I'm thinking
Okay.
there will be multiple. Ideally, there's a webinar for parents,
Okay,
so I get a lot of those emails, obviously, I'm gonna start home educating. What do I need to know? And I have my canned response with all kinds of links and this and that, but,
okay,
so I think a webinar for parents might be helpful. And then a webinar for school districts
okay,
and their responsibilities, and even non-public schools that are acting as a participating agency,
All right.
So I can see we can build a lot of these,
right,
Um,
right,
it's just a capacity issue. Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, of course, I'd love to get input from, again, you folks work this all the time, so it's always helpful to have more eyes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments about the Department of Education report?
You said a webinar for parents and a webinar for
School districts.
school districts.
We're seeing, I'm still seeing a lot of, behaviors, from stuff that was in rule and law 10, 15 years ago. And I get, change is hard and, in the department, a department hasn't been good. We say, here are the new rules in our Friday forum, but we should be taking that next step when we have a superintendent's call to say,
Right.
hey, there are new rules out there, and if you want, we're talking about me setting up office hours, for example, every month, where I'm just sitting at a Zoom webinar set up, and districts can call in with questions every month. Some other groups are already doing that, so it's just, again, it's capacity issue.
Right.
But, we are seeing where schools are saying, we're not approving your home ed program. And I'm like, they gotta make that call. And then they still send people to us to review portfolios, which Ellie Real used to do 10 years ago. The department used to do that.
Yeah.
And districts are still sending people to do that with us. And so I'm trying to respond. When a parent comes in, I say, who advised you to do this? So I can provide the technical assistance back to the district to, send them the new rules and say, listen, read these 215s, because it would be helpful.
Okay,
And again, they're so busy, I get it.
yes,
And
yes.
the department has to be better about sharing that with them.
Thank you. No other questions or comments about the commissioner's report, and move on to the legislators report. Representative Pettingham.
Oh, no, I asked if we could just move that down,
Oh, okay,
me down to,
the legislative updates?
yeah.
You got it, okay. All right, then we'll move right along to the Home Educator Association representatives. Diane.
Everything that, I think that Katie will go over everything,
Yeah.
because of the hearings and executive sessions and whatnot that I attended.
I will say through what I've been hearing since we last met, obviously, there's still lots of talk about the legislative bills. There's a lot of information and excitement about the solar eclipse coming. And people want to know where they can get information and where they can get solar eclipse glasses that are reputable and safe. And we're hearing more about that whole school to work opportunity. And I'm wondering if some of that is we've had some really nice weather and people are starting to think about, coming out and getting involved in the community more, and opportunities for their kids outside of their own homeschool, especially older kids. So, yeah, and we continue to see growth and engagement, but those are some of the top things that I've heard about. Moving right along, home education community. Rebecca.
Good.
Okay, Mike.
No, the only thing is there's still a lot of confusion about, EFAs and homeschooling. Several, conversations with folks referring themselves as homeschoolers, but they're taking EFA funds. And, just yesterday was at a meeting about the 306s, the rules of public education. A lot of talk about if you're taking public funds, then you're held to the same standards as public schools. It's not rules, but it's something that people in public education want to see. So I think that more quickly people can become up to speed about, there may be some requirements to taking those public funds through an EFA program, just so everybody's clear on where they fall in the rules. So that's nothing specific, but just still general confusion about that.
Thank you, Mike. Our representative from the New Hampshire School Administrator Association could not be here with us today because she's at a conference. So we'll move right along to non-public school advisory council. Jill,
No, nothing to add.
thank you. Okay, moving right along to Roman numeral number 11, rulemaking legislative updates, number A. Rulemaking updates, the ED 704.02. Tim, do you want to do that or you want me to do that?
You can do that. if you-
Okay.
Yeah.
I reached out to follow up, this week ahead of our meeting with Sarah Wheeler last meeting, we heard that they had just hired staff hoping to get the, rulemaking underway for ED 700. So, so Sarah emailed me back and she says, I have met with our rulemaking staff person and the department's lawyer yesterday. We are aiming to introduce it at the State Board of Education meeting in May, barring any legal issues with the proposed language. I submitted the home education section language exactly as we agreed upon last year. I will let you know if we are on schedule or not after my meeting with the NHED legal team. So they are making way with that now, which is great to hear, because one person can only do so much and you need the support staff. So that's great to hear that it is underway.
And that's the, so the May meeting will be, the state board will adopt the initial proposal. And then it will go to, I think it goes to JELCAR OLS and then it comes back. So it may be a couple meetings after May before the final rule is adopted.
Okay,
It's just the process similar to what
Right.
the ED 315s went through.
and that's probably would be something that even though it's not the ED 315, that we had the rules committee, they could keep track of that as it's going through the process. Okay, awesome. Next up is number B, legislative updates.
You moved 1610 down on the list.
I did,
Moved
yes.
it to number 6, okay, so we'll skip that one. HB 1012, that passed on consent. This is the bill exempting parents from criminal penalty regarding certain decisions that encourage their children's independence and freedom. So that passed on consent, and so that will be headed over to the Senate.
Okay,
So that's good. The constitutional amendment for parents' rights, CACR 17, that was recommended for reconsideration, but we did not reconsider that in
Okay.
session last week. So I actually sent a message to Representative Cordelli because that's his bill and he's going to be checking on that.
so that reconsideration should be
It's still
coming to be scheduled.
Pending.
Okay,
Yeah. I don't know why we didn't. Usually that's the first order of business.
okay,
But I don't know what happened.
okay,
But this requires 3/5 vote, so the likelihood of it passing
Yeah. Yeah, realistically,
realistically is not gonna happen.
yeah, I don't think any constitutional amendment will pass the House because of that requirement this year. 1402, that was my bill, and one I was co-sponsor on that, establishing a procedure for high school proficiency exam. And that coincides with that EV 704 rule that we were just discussing. Because we want students to be able to take the high set younger if possible, so that they can graduate from high school and move on, but with showing that they've graduated without having to meet the compulsory education requirements. I'm not familiar with Senate Bill 444.
That was the
Just a
public
second. How
post.
did 1402 go?
Hmm?
What's 1402 status?
It's interim study.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Senate Bill 444, but that looks like it's interim study, so it might stay. in
Yeah, that was the
Senate.
posting of, we were
Yeah,
concerned
Sarah,
about,
I think
yes,
there was.
yeah,
a
the
complaint
posting of
about-
the
But this-
agenda
Yeah,
items and meeting materials for the Board of Education, but that might have an impact on us as well.
and House Bill 1128, that's an education freedom account, bill that was attempting to limit where the scholarship organization that currently administers the education freedom account in the Children's Trust Fund could be incorporated.
Oh, that's.
Yes.
It,
By
yeah,
the
they want,
representative.
yes,
So-
because it's a New York organization,
yes.
so they're
There was a-
legally and what's called an alien
It was a close vote.
liability, yeah, well, they all are. So that was thankfully indefinitely postponed. 1652 was an expedient to legislate that was establishing a local freedom account program and one of the mistaken or the pieces of misinformation regarding that. That would go to the town for a vote. And again, it would have to be 3/5 of the town to vote that they
Right.
wanted to establish a local education freedom account program. It wasn't establishing that without the town deciding that that's what they wanted for their students.
I have a quick question about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking it up. It looked like originally it was ought to pass. And then Representative Myler requested reconsideration. Does that ring a bell?
Well, it came out of committee, no recommendation.
Oh, okay.
So it was, so when a bill comes out of committee, no recommendation, the first motion is on to pass.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. So the first step, should this become
This is,
law, would be the town needs to vote for that.
if it would ever, yes, this was the
Okay.
third attempt at
Okay,
this type of bill. So the
Okay.
town would have to vote, or the school district would have to vote that that's what they wanted to adopt.
okay. Thank you.
And CACR 25, another constitutional amendment regarding parents' rights, that was an expedient to legislate. for. And then 1610, the one that everybody really already knows about because 500 of you showed up to
Yeah,
contest that bill, was moved and expedient to legislate by the sponsor.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's going on, that will be on consent calendar probably this week, and
Yep.
that's done. It went in expedient to legislate with no discussion.
no, yeah, 20-0. That was great.
Does that allow a sponsor to bring it back at some point, or do you have to just fix this like any other expedient to legislate?
It's,
No.
it'll be
Okay.
dead,
It'll be that.
yeah. Thankfully.
Could I ask about HB 1665? It's not on the list, but it was the one to increase the income cap for E EFA.
Yes,
Down to finance, right?
yeah, that's what, it's either in finance or it's in the Senate. I think it's in finance. We have to vote on it again.
Yeah, it's in finance.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
But it was approved by one vote.
Mhm. Yeah,
It
it
was.
passed the
Yes,
House.
It did pass the House.
Mhm.
yeah.
yes, it did.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? You did a great job.
Yeah,
Getting
thank you.
those. Yes, I know we spent a significant amount of our time talking about those at our last meeting.
Oh,
But Senator Ward's not here and it's a Senate bill. You wouldn't happen to notice, no, there are two different bills on FAFSA. 339.
oh. Yeah, that one's coming to our committee. I've looked at it and that one completely repeals the requirement to complete a FAFSA for home education, for high school graduation.
Yeah.
But we had another one that we'll be voting on. Did it pass us?
And those 1066 is
Yeah.
coming to committee next week.
Yes,
That's
okay.
On the same
I'm
day.
sorry.
I know.
We have so many bills. I can't remember them all by number and what they do and where they are off the top of my head.
So I have that March 19th. 1066 comes on the same thing. I believe that's.
Oh, yeah, that we have
second
a
FAFSA.
list of 13 bills left to exact. So that'll come up. I don't have the committee temperature on that.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we'll move along to Roman numeral number 12, informational items. There's 5 items here that's just listed for us to share with the home education community. The first one is the resources for the solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024. The education department has a great website that families can use. The UNH extension also has an eclipse website, and I believe they still have some online workshops scheduled that you can attend. I did attend one of those and the message was, if you can get in the path of totality, you really should to experience. So they're doing a great job encouraging people and encouraging educators, to help connect with students to experience the eclipse. And NASA also has a great eclipse website. The next item that would be helpful for families to know is that there is an early college exploration event for homeschool families that's hosted by the Community College System of New Hampshire. And that's scheduled for April 19th at NHTI's Raponi Auditorium. And tickets are free, but they are needed, and you can get those at Eventbrite. The next opportunity is the 2024 Congressional Art Competition that's open to high school students, and students should enter in the district in which they reside. We have 2 districts in New Hampshire. They have different deadlines. District 1 is April 26th, and District 2 is April 12th, and students and families should visit the Congressional Art Competition website and their district's website for entry instructions, including rules and regulations. The Currier Museum of Art wanted to share that they have a home education opportunity of a homeschool art studio. It's an in-person art class, and it begins April 9th at the Currier Museum of Art in Manchester. And there's one more that came up today in the Friday email from the department. And that was the 2024 AT Resource Expo hosted by the Department of Education. That's actually Thursday, May 16th from 11 to 4. And it's here at the Granite State College building. And that focus area is assistive technology, accessibility, accessible education materials, and more. And registration is available at nhatconnect.com.
Is that one that Tim sent out?
I didn't see that one.
No,
Did you
that
send
was the
one out?
Friday forum, right?
Yeah, it was in the Friday forum.
So that.
Oh,
will come out
So
today.
just today, that was
And
announced.
I've added you to the list. I think I added all the EF members. to the
Okay, I was gonna
Friday
say,
forum. If
thank
you're
you
not
for
getting-
sending these out, because
Yeah.
that's helpful to quickly get them out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
great.
so
that
thank you for
people
doing
are
that.
reaching out to the.
Yeah,
public.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah,
And it's a great way to get them. We haven't really had them on the agenda before, but it's just great to make them known their
Yeah.
opportunities.
But I just like getting the emails from Tim so we can quickly get them
Yeah. Yeah.
sent out.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, thank you.
Does anyone else have any other informational items? Or opportunities they're aware of? All right, if not, we'll move on to announcements. Our next scheduled meetings are April 19th, 2024, if needed. And May 17th, 2024. And then we'll move on to open board discussions. We've been doing great on time management. We're just at 3:47.
All right.
We're scooting today.
I had a question on you and I go back and forth on this, right, on like the interim meetings. I usually reach out that Friday before the Monday to say, ask if we're gonna have a meeting or not. So we can
Yes.
remove it.
Right.
If not, But,
Yes,
but with the, probably want to keep in mind that with the annual
Annual
report. I don't know if I remember last year, I think we ended up with a June meeting. And then a July presentation to the board.
I couldn't make that presentation. I don't remember when that was, but I think because we weren't able to meet in May.
Right. So that's what
Right,
I'm
we ended up
thinking,
having
yeah.
a June meeting. So
Right.
if there's some reason that we're unable to meet
That's why I didn't know if you
in
want,
May,
or do
right?
the April meeting. So you can have approval.
What do
to
you
the
guys
board.
want? Do you
Just
want?
to think about.
Yeah, that's a great point, Tim. Would you guys like to meet next month for the purpose of just addressing the annual report, which we're required to do? And make that like a working meeting to work on the annual report?
How does it typically get done? Is it someone prepares it and then produces it for everyone?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
In
the
the meeting,
chair,
is there
Yeah.
a discussion? No.
yes. So the chair is responsible for ensuring the preparation of the annual report. The chair doesn't have to write the report, but just has to make sure it gets done. Any member of the council can do it. It's brought forward to the council. the entire report is read at the meeting. And then the council decides yay or nay, or these changes need to be made. But it is actually approved by the council, because it's the council's report before it goes to the State Board of Education for presentation.
So there is a
April, just to
vote.
clarify, you're asking if we'll have an additional meeting in April to prepare that report for the presentation to the council in May.
Right, I mean, it's a placeholder. If we need the meeting, we can meet. I just curious about the polls, because sometimes things happen and we could be one person away from
Right.
not having a quorum to meet. So it may be prudent to meet with a limited schedule just to work on the annual report.
Because I think, Mike, you were here last, you presented it
Right,
last year to
yeah.
the state board. I think what happened last year.
April Rose, I think.
Yeah,
I think, no, I believe Jen,
Oh, Jen
Jen,
did,
yeah.
that's right.
yeah,
but I think it was, so we had the May meeting to work on the
Right, yes.
report, but then it had to be finished up. So you couldn't vote at the May meeting on approving it. You had to have that second meeting to do the actual vote in
I believe it.
June. So we had a June meeting that we hadn't planned on. Just to
Right.
vote
Yeah,
on it,
right.
because we needed to have a vote, right?
Well, I believe it was prepared and ready, and there were just minor changes last year. So, I mean, I'd have to go through the minutes. I don't think last year, I know the year before last, there were multiple meetings.
Mhm.
To accomplish the goal of getting the annual report done. It's probably prudent, honestly, because if we don't want to go into June, like that's kind of the last part of business that the council conducts. At the end of the academic year. So, you know, I think it would be acceptable to say, you know, that the intention to meet is just to work on that report. And if we do it in 30 minutes, that's great. If we need additional time, you know, that's fine, but I'm just curious what you guys think about meeting.
I agree.
You're good with meeting in April?
Makes sense to
Okay,
get going on the report.
okay. Rebecca,
Sure.
Jill?
It's spring break that week for our school, so we're going away. that
Okay.
week.
Okay. All right. All right, so let's plan then on meeting on April 19th with a limited agenda.
Did you want to have legislative items on that agenda as well? Because that might be.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I'm
The
hearing
seventh?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm happy to review whatever you guys do and make recommendations. So I'm happy to be part of that process. I just won't be there at the meeting.
okay, thank you. That's really, the more eyes, the better, so that's great, thank you,
Sure.
Jill. Okay, so then we'll plan on meeting in April with the purpose of working on the annual report and receiving a legislative update. I'm good? Okay. Great, so the plan is to meet April and May. Okay, awesome. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Yes, Tim?
Did you get in trouble? One thing I thought of after I wrote my report was, I've been getting some calls both from non-public schools, but home education as well around child find. You familiar with child find?
Yes.
Yes,
So I was thinking about adding something to some information on our website about that, but I wanted to see if you felt that would be helpful. Because, you know, districts are responsible for trying to identify
Yes.
kiddos that might have special ed requirements, and they're responsible for providing an evaluation if a parent requests it. But I don't know that a lot of home
Yes.
educated parents know that it's available to them
Then-
if they choose.
I
I
think that'd be
don't know
great.
how-
Any way that we can get that out to families.
Yeah, and I don't know how many of the schools that, Mike, I don't know if you know, I'm seeing some districts that really aren't reaching out to home education families, you know?
No.
Or even the non-public, some of the districts,
Right.
you know, districts are all, you know, different, but some just don't seem to do it.
Right.
So, okay, so I'll look to put something on our webpage and maybe run it by the council before I make it final, just trying to get that information to parents who might be new to home education and have young kids that might need some help and, you know, at least they can go to the
Yeah.
district instead of waiting for the district to come to them.
Right.
Yeah,
I
I think it's important.
Information is power. I mean, the families that I know, they may not necessarily reach out to their district because
Right.
they may go to seek private consultations.
Yeah.
But it's great to know that it's available.
It's available, right?
Absolutely.
At no cost to them.
Exactly.
Right,
Okay.
right, at no cost, and then,
Right.
yes, it's a win-win.
Yeah, okay, thank you. That's all I.
Okay.
Big
All right.
advocate, clearly.
All right, with that, it's 3:55. We'll go ahead and open up our second public comment period. Is there anyone who would like to make a public
Am I
comment?
allowed to speak again?
Another 3 minutes?
Sure, another 3 minutes.
Okay, I
Yeah.
was gonna be like, I finished.
Great. Mike wasn't here before, so we just introduced yourself.
Sure, Kirsten Williams, I'm a school counselor, I live in Meredith, New Hampshire.
Yes, I did read.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
That's who I am.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Is my timer started?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
the chair can wait.
So I feel like where I left off was kind of, actually, I don't really know exactly what I was going to ramble, but, if you've read the beginning, I guess I just want to draw attention to the fact that there is a lot of talk out there about our mental health crisis, especially in our youth. And I see that, as a school counselor, a real huge rise in anxiety in particular. And anxiety untreated goes to depression, and depression leads to suicide. So with that said, because kids aren't in public school doesn't mean they're not, maybe in some sort of mental health crisis. So what I want to do is somehow figure out how to, allow homeschool families to also get the guidance, that public school families get from a school counselor. How to access those, places, or even just like check-ins. I do a lot of check-ins with, I have over 300 students, and I just check in, and if a kid is not doing well, then I communicate with parents, or I communicate with teachers, or refer out. So just like trying to help like keep the pulse of the students and how they're doing, with mental health, and then helping parents access whatever is needed. Or even just, you know, meeting with a kid a few times if they're going through a transition in life, like a divorce or, a family death or something like that. Where they don't need intensive therapy, but they might need, someone to talk to for a few weeks and sort through how they're feeling. As well as helping some guides or parents, learn techniques on how to help their kids de-escalate, or how to teach kids, to move through anxiety, those kinds of things. So what I'm looking for from you guys is, if anybody wants to contact me or email me, you have all my information, about how you think I can go about this. If this is something even that you think is, something that home educators are interested in or need, you might be like, I don't think it's necessary, and that's great, if that's how you feel. But I'm just looking for someone to point me in the right direction as to how I do what I'm passionate about in a place that now I'm starting to become passionate about, which is home education. Yeah.
That's a lot of extra.
Oh, good. I'm gonna fast talk. Thank you.
Okay, we do not have a need to go into a non-public session. And hearing that we have no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Okay, Rebecca, I'll let you have it. Diane, you want the second?
Second.
Okay. On a roll call vote to adjourn. Mike,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes, so this meeting is adjourned at 3:58. See you all in April.
Thank you.
Bye, Gail.
Have a great day,
Bye,
Jill. Enjoy your vacation.
Tim, I need to get a copy of that